it's going to be okay. Let's get our act together here. And once it kind of calmed down, I realized, why am I straying from lean management system? These are applicable tools. You can't solve every problem with it, but you can start to make progress.
Today, I'm excited to welcome my good friend, Mike Lombard, back to the show. Now, Mike's been on a few times, and man, we always have a lot of fun when we reconnect. In fact, we did the interview, which was, 30, 35 minutes, and then we stopped the recording. We ended up talking for another hour. So, such a great guy and a great friend. And so anyhow, Mike's got a really deep lean background, and he's also deeply embedded in the Toyota Kata community, and has been practicing scientific thinking really for as long as pretty much existed. I mean, he's one of the OGs, as we would say. And so we had a lot of fun talking about how he's applying scientific thinking and this framework of Toyota Kata to some unusual situations. I say unusual. Most people aren't applying Toyota Kata to this, is what I mean. But so Mike actually homeschools his kids. And actually, so do we. So do my wife and I. We also homeschool our kids. And so we talked about how Mike was using this framework of scientific thinking and many lean principles like visual management, that sort of thing, to learn how to homeschool and learn how to teach their kids. And Mike also coaches youth soccer, and come to find out, so do I. I have for many, many years. And so he also talked about how he used many of the things that we're doing in the Improvement Kata, Coaching Kata, to teach kids how to play soccer. And really good conversation on things like deliberate practice and the importance of that, and the difference between, say, deliberate practice and just random practice. So what's so fun about this episode is that these things that we teach and we do on an everyday basis as continuous improvement people, in our companies, man, they apply to all areas of our lives. So whether it's, teaching your kids or coaching a sports team or any other activity that you're involved in, this framework of scientific thinking can, and I argue should, be involved. So really good stuff. Now, Mike is also leading up what we call a Toyota Kata school in Florida. And so he talked about that as well. So be sure to scroll down on the show notes today and go connect with Mike. We'll have his Kata school link there in the show notes, and also his LinkedIn link. So please go connect with Mike and tell him that you listen to the show. Now, last thing I'll say is, and we talk about this a little bit in the episode, but this is episode 520. Well, and we've done 52 episodes every year, and we've never missed. And so that means that this is the sort of like the 10th year of doing this podcast. And I couldn't think of a better guy to do it with, because again, Mike's been a friend since the very beginning of Gemba Academy, really. And we did some early stuff together when Gemba Academy was just a tiny, tiny little infant. And so how appropriate it was to have Mike on during episode 520. But anyhow, thank you to everybody that listens to this show. We really do appreciate you. Okay, enough for me. Let's get to the show. Michael, welcome back to the show, man. How's it going?
Hey, Ron. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here with you, buddy.
Yeah, man. So what is this, number 3, number 4, something like that you've been on? I didn't even look before, but I
believe I'm in the three-timer club now.
Okay,
I think
all right.
First time in a while, though, so it's great to be back.
Yeah, man. It's always fun. All right. Well, you know the drill, Mike. We'd like to get started with a quote. So what do you got?
Yeah, I think there was a lot that I wanted to go with, but I'm going to keep it simple. The quote is, "The map is not the territory." And this was a quote that was first presented to me by an instructor named Richard Carr, but doing a little research, it seems to be attributed to somebody named Alfred Korzybski.
Okay. What's it mean to you, though, that quote?
Yeah, so I think as a practitioner of teaching, lean and performance improvement methodologies, I was always kind of thinking about what was the right way to do things on paper. And when I heard this quote, it made me really realize that the what's on paper, what sounds right out of a book, is great, but what actually is going on inside people's heads, what's going on at the Gemba, that's the real territory. And so for me, it turned my practice of lean from being like a kind of a 2D thing into a 3D thing. I really started to think about um, from a human-centered perspective, what's going on inside of people's heads. How can they, traverse whatever territory they're trying to cross, whatever challenge they're trying to solve is going to look and feel a little bit different to them. It's not going to
Hmm.
be cookie cutter. It's not going to be according to the map. It's more like navigating with a compass with frequent pivots as opposed to blindly following, a GPS or something like that.
All right, man. Well, good stuff. So, well, dude, it's been a while since we've connected. So I sort of know your story, but for those listening, tell us a little bit about your background, Mike, and how you got involved in all this continuous improvement stuff and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, I'd love to share. So thank you for the opportunity. I started, not a non-traditional path. I was never an engineer or any kind of trained PI professional. I was actually grew up in the home building business, and then had a great leader. Mike Draper was his name. He wanted me to learn about improvement methodology. So he sent me off to get some training and supported that. And I used that. I really kind of fell in love with lean and continuous improvement, and ended up being able to pivot into healthcare right around 2010. Worked for some great health systems out in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and that's where I was got to be friends with folks like yourself and Mark Graban and other people
Mm-hmm.
who've been tremendous influences and mentors for me. And then actually, I never had planned to work in healthcare, but I just absolutely loved it. And within a couple of years, I found myself in a role where I was the CEO of a small hospital in middle of nowhere, Louisiana. It was called Sulphur, Louisiana, and it kind of, was struggling a little bit. It was a kind of a turnaround
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, and it was my first opportunity to really take all of that, lean training that I had received and practiced, and really apply it to a turnaround and operational role. And we had a lot of success with that. And then that led me to working out on the West Coast for a large, prestigious health system named Kaiser Permanente. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really where I started to see more of the kind of the human side. Saw it less as an act of trying to re-engineer processes and more of an act of really investing in people's mindsets, and the fact that I had been exposed to Mike Rother's teachings with Toyota Kata was a huge benefit when I kind of started applying that and a more kind of human-centered approach to doing performance improvement. And then recently been working for a great primary care organization by the name of ChinMed. And very soon, I'm excited to say I'm going to be actually becoming an entrepreneur. I'm going to be working on expanding my family business and also opening up some consulting services. And
Mm-hmm.
and probably what I'm most excited about is the new Kata School of Florida that I just created, and
Yeah.
as part of our Kata Worldwide School Network, to really be able to spread scientific thinking far and wide.
Yeah, man. That's so cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's been fun just watching your career sort of, take off. And I remember how proud I was when I saw, oh my gosh, you CEO. The thing I think was so great about that opportunity that you had there to be CEO, it's one thing to throw down as a lead thinker, practitioner, we're out here making things better, blah, blah, blah. And then you got this thing, what? There's a profit and loss statement. What? There's a balance sheet. Like, what's going on here? Like, and like running a company, man, that's a different level of lean thinking, right? And like, what was that like for you when you went from, practitioner to the leader?
Well, it was extremely tough. I'm going to be honest. At the beginning, I was almost in the beginning. I almost said, "Oh my goodness," a lot of the stuff that I've been teaching people now seems frivolous. It's like the issues that I'm dealing with are, so and so is bickering with the other person, or, should I have my parking lot spot be better than anybody else? Like stuff that seems like
Yeah.
so mundane. And I'm like, this isn't what I was taught in my lean training or whatever. And at first I was kind of like, oh my goodness, but then I was starting to freak out. We were, like I said, it was a turnaround job. It was a hospital that was really struggling, and we thought it was going to be shut down. And I was basically just there to get some experience. And but then I kind of had to have a moment where I hit rock bottom, and had to take a big deep breath. And I had some really kind people that kind of patted me on the back and said, "Hey, it's going to be okay. Let's get our act together here." And once I kind of calmed down, I realized, why am I straying from lean management system? These are applicable tools.
Mm-hmm.
You can't solve every problem with it, but you can start to make progress. And so we set up a big visual board in our conference room that became the master brain of the whole hospital, and we could manage our daily huddles and all of our visual management through that. And we started applying just rigorously all of the tools that we had been taught. And then I became a even more true believer of improvement science than I had been before I had gone through those travails and that kind of hit rock bottom. I came out of it with a refreshed appreciation for improvement science, but also a more, I guess, human-centered version of it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right. Well, hey, man, I'm excited to sort of dig into a topic that pretty sure, we have not touched on this podcast in 519 previous episodes. Which, by the way, this is 520, and we've done 52 episodes every year. So this is in theory, 10th year episode, right? By calendar year, it's a little bit weird with leap years and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, we've done 52 every year, and we never missed. And this is 520.
I've always been impressed by your consistency, your presence. You're always you come up with a plan, and you are quick to pivot, but also very steadfast, and that's something I admire, and I look up to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, man, it's been a blast. I mean, there's a lot of things I love about Gemba Academy, but man, this podcast is right up at the top. I guess it's just so fun, just get to talk to different people, and I'm learning on every episode, and it's such a blast. So anyhow, all that to say is, pretty sure we've not talked about applying sort of scientific thinking framework to something that you and I and our families share in common. And that is homeschooling children.
Yep.
And then also, I understand that you are a youth soccer coach, which I am as well. And and I never played soccer. I can't remember. I don't know where you were on the whole soccer thing, but I did not grow up as a soccer player. But I got a daughter who plays college soccer now, so she went all the way through from little rec teams to club teams to college now. So where are you at, Michael, with this whole homeschooling thing? And let's start with that, homeschooling.
Yeah. And by the way, we'll focus on homeschooling in the beginning, but a soccer coach is a very generous term for me. I am like a wannabe soccer coach. I've had a lot of help, but yeah, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Homeschooling. I mean, another thing, just like working in healthcare, I'd never planned on it. My wife and I, we were married for like 10 years before we decided to have kids. So we were just getting used to the idea that we're parents now, and then all of a sudden they're going into kindergarten, our daughter is, and we're like, well, we had this kind of like idea that we maybe want to do homeschooling. And this was actually like a year before the COVID pandemic happened, and a lot of people started homeschooling out of necessity. So we were already in there.
Yeah.
And I think it was just the idea that my wife and I, we both love to teach and be involved in the curriculum with our kids, and we wanted to just have an opportunity to really give them the best possible learning experience and in the comfort of home, and and there's some great programs out there that we were able to tap into. It kind of for us happened almost without us even planning it. We just kind of fell into it and ended up loving. I'm not sure what your what your route to get to homeschooling was, but for us it was just something we thought would be neat. We thought we'd give it a try. We thought we'd try it as an experiment and ended up loving it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're very, very similar. I mean, I've got 7 kids, and, 2 of them are in college now, and I got a junior in high school. I've got what is she? I should know, sophomore. And then I got 3 younger ones. And I guess similar thing, like my wife had thought about trying it. And so when we had our first daughter, we just, and she was ready to kind of go to school, so to speak. She just started, and her mom has my wife's mom has she's a teacher, like an education background and all that. So she was able to help a little bit, just sort of coaching and mentoring my wife, and yeah, we same thing, there's so many different forms of curriculum out there and all that, that you can latch on to. So you don't have to necessarily invent it yourself unless you want to. There's some people who go that route, but
yeah, that's probably one of the big misconceptions. A lot of the questions that we get is like, how do you do it all? And it's like, no, we're part of, Stride K through 12. They provide curriculum and teachers and books and laptops and all these amazing resources. It's not like back decades ago where you were truly just isolated doing homeschool.
Right. No, for sure. Now, that to say, we take it year by year. Like my oldest son, him and his mom were about to kill each other. So he's in the public high school now, and he's doing great, so like, we're not like anti go to, traditional school or anything like that. And my oldest daughter actually did both. She homeschooled, then she went to public school, and then she finished her last year, I think, homeschool or whatever, so it's just, and two of them are in college now and they're doing great. And so, yeah, it's been a good journey for us personally.
Yeah. And same here. We're not, absolutist or, homeschool fundamentalists or anything like that.
Right.
We've debated, maybe when we get to middle school, maybe my daughter, cause she's extremely social, kind of a butterfly, she might, and now we make sure we have great after school programming to get the kids involved in lots of activities. But my daughter kind of would be the one that might want to go at a later stage. And so, we're just like we treated it as an experiment when we got started. We look at every year as kind of another test of that hypothesis.
Yeah. My younger ones that homeschool right now, they go to a co-op. So it's one day a week. They go to a place and there's teachers. Most of them are moms, but it's the mom who's got the chemistry degree, right? So she teaches chemistry and so forth. And so they go to that. And so it's kind of a university model. And so then they'll get a lot of their work and they submit it online, and they have a teacher they can reach out to if they need to. And my wife obviously is there to support them. But that works well for us, especially when they get into high school and stuff. And, not everybody can throw down with calculus if your kid's into that, right? So
that's tough.
Yeah.
I like that co-op concept, though. I've actually been thinking about it, wanting to, as a way of giving back to the community, wanted to do something like that myself through Kata School, Florida.
Yeah, man.
That I mentioned earlier. Because I think, not only doing what some of the other co-ops provide and other kind of support groups provide, which they do wonderful things, but adding that extra element of the kind of the Toyota Kata methodology in a way that has been proven that can be taught to students of any age.
Yep.
I think would be really cool. I think that little extra teaching around, what they call that meta skill of the improvement kata and the coaching kata. Right. I think that could be a great enhancement to help kiddos really strive to be their very best.
Well, there's this little thing called Kata in the Classroom you may have heard of, Mr. Lombard. And I actually did it with the big group of homeschool kids. It was been a year or two ago. And it was a blast, they're all in there. We had the puzzles and they were getting after it, man. So
I got to put in a plug, like for Ron, you not only have done that, but I also saw you do a masterful job of doing that Kata training for a group of executives at Kaiser Permanente out in California. That was it was probably 300 people in the room or something like that. And
that was intense, man. And it was like, there's a chief of staff or oh my God, that's great.
There was high-ranking people that had their eyes opened that day. I was an employee at the time of that organization, and I'm telling you, they were impressed. And then to see that same exact exercise also have an impact on elementary school students or homeschool. I mean, it is truly universally, applicable and powerful.
Man, I forgot about that Kaiser training. That was wild, though. I remember when we did the picture and we had everybody hold up the puzzle or whatever. I'm like, hey, we got to ask Mike, man, what's the biggest group that's ever done it, man? That has to be up near the top.
That is that might be. I did one. I was kind of like competitive. I'm like, how did Ron get to do that big old thing? And I didn't get to do one. So a couple months later, at a different part of Kaiser Permanente, I did one that probably had about maybe 2/3 the size of that one. And I was
Yeah.
like, dang it, I didn't quite get there,
Yeah.
The competitive
You were
side
helping me
coming
though.
out.
I remember because I was like, dude, I can't do 300 people by myself. So you're going to have to be running around the room. So
Yeah. Not always competitive. Sometimes we're also very supportive of each other.
Oh yeah.
Our competitive, I think, goes back to the was it 2006 national championship game
Stop
between
it.
the Gators and the
Stop it.
Buckeyes. I mean, you've been giving me nonstop jive about Urban Meyer. I regret ever publishing that blog post trying to extol his virtues now that we've discovered he's not as great as we once thought.
Right. Oh my word. Yeah. Well, hey, but getting back to the homeschool thing, because I know you've been using scientific thinking, that framework, during this process. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm a believer that striving in a good, rigorous scientific way and developing good, strong reflexes for decision making, and overcoming our fight or flight or those kind of inherited traits. I think that that's applicable to whether it's a patient striving to improve their health or a business leader trying to improve performance, or indeed a family trying to work through the inherent issues of elementary school education, especially homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's not like, okay, don't get me wrong. I have sat down with my kids and said, here's what Kata is, and shown them all of the cool images and graphics. And we've done some of that stuff, but we've also more informally applied it in various ways. So one is, the good old fashioned daily huddle, it's tried and true thing that we do in factories and in hospital units everywhere. But it was amazing how just throwing up a sheet of paper on the wall and putting down my son's name and my daughter's name, and then saying, okay, here, what's the target for today? What are you going to try to accomplish today? And what are the obstacles that you think are going to get in the way of that target today? And let them, they're the ones writing it down. A little bit of it's programmed. They have certain homeworks that they have to do and that sort of thing. But they also get to choose and kind of customize what their target is for the day. And then, most importantly, like, what are the obstacles that are going to prevent you? What's going to distract you today, guys? What's going to maybe cause you to get wore out and not want to keep to it or whatever? We talk through that, and they come up with a plan for it, and we come back and we review it. How did it go? Good day, bad day, that sort of thing. And we track it over time. And, it's like we kind of gamify it a little bit. And we say, how many smiley faces did you get this week? Smiley face represents you accomplished what you sought out to accomplish, or you learned something significant that day, even if you didn't meet your goals. And so we track that. And, it's called the Lombard Family Awesome Tracker, to try to add some human-centered design. We added emojis, and each of us has our own little icon that our avatar that represents our mindset. My daughter with a big sunshine or whatever, my son with a fighter jet or whatever. He loves Top Gun. So like, so we do that. So human-centered Kata practice. At home using visual management. That's one way we've done it.
So have you been able to work in just the whole idea of, sort of make a plan and make a prediction and then see how it plays out and what you learn?
Oh yeah. I'll ask them. I'm like, okay, so how much homework do you think that you'll be able to do today? How many modules? Actually make a numerical prediction, write it down, and come back and compare and see what we learned, whether we achieved it or not. And we absolutely do. So we're very deliberate in trying to start to sprinkle in some of that scientific thinking as we go in this kind of informal way.
Well, just the visual management aspect of it is huge, right? And I find that not, every kid's different, but boys in particular, been my experience with my kids. I got 2 boys and 5 girls. Okay. But my 2 boys, they're very visual and very it's important for at least my two boys to have like structure, like it can't be too sort of freestyle, whereas my daughters are just fine with that. But the boys need structure. So like
Yeah.
whole visual management, I think that's super, super helpful and important. And what a gift, because, when they get out into the real world one day and they'll have those abilities built into them, burned into them almost, right? And
Yeah.
what a gift.
Yeah, and you're right. Like personality differences. My son, he's definitely more of the, if I had to guess, he'd probably be some sort of engineer or something one day. He's got that structure and he loves that. And if you don't follow the structure, he'll call you out on it.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, she's very much like this kind of artistic type,
Yeah.
and she's just really more about the colors and how do these emojis look, and kind of making it fun and making it a great experience. And it's interesting though. I try to find that balance where we can mix in both and make it very, very a good experience. So they want to keep coming back and doing it over and over again. It's not a drag. I don't have to beg them to come and do the family huddle in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's pivot a little bit. What about soccer? So what's going on with that, man?
Real quick though, actually, before we pivot, I wanted to mention one other thing. Just like with Toyota Kata, we have the improvement kata. We also have the coaching kata. We have, we would create this chain of where you have somebody that's the improver and they're being coached by a coach, and then that person maybe has a second coach. Well, my wife Mariana, who just so the listeners know, Ron knows her very well. Mariana used to work at Gemba Academy way back in the day, and she's a go-getter type. Like she's a very much a doer. She can get incredible amounts of work done, but she was new to being a learning coach, and so it's been a really great opportunity and a very big challenge for me to step back and become that kind of coach's coach and use some of those techniques that I learned from the coaching kata and try to impart those to my wife, Mariana. And it's just interesting to see her start to kind of fine tune her coaching skills. And I encourage anybody who has been a coach to try to do that, try to step back and to be a coach's coach someday, and to see how you're thrown right back into the sensation of being the beginner all over again. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously that's your wife, man, so it's also, that's a different dynamic there, right? It's not like just rolling over to your colleague at work and, telling them, well, hey, how did that go?
That's
Having
right.
a conversation with your wife could be more interesting, perhaps.
Oh yeah. And Mariana is definitely she's a very strong woman. And so I've definitely, it's been incumbent upon me to be able to read the room, be able to understand the emotional intelligence side of coaching a coach and that sort of thing. And I think it's just made me a better husband, honestly, in addition to being a better coach's coach.
Nice. All right. Soccer. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So, we signed our kids up for this really great program through AYSO. Don't even know what that acronym means, but it's a great program. And my 7-year-old son was first time playing soccer. And I grew up playing baseball, football. I had no clue about soccer. And the league was asking for volunteers to coach. And I said, I can't be, really a coach because I don't really know anything about soccer. But I'll be happy to be an assistant coach and maybe learn on the job. And they're like, no, you can do it. You can do it. We don't have anybody that can be your assistant coach. We're just going to, can you just be the head coach? It's easy. I'm like, okay. I'm just nervous and felt like kind of the first day I went to work in healthcare after working in construction, I felt like a fish out of water. And like, my goodness. But then I got really lucky in that last minute, they did add an assistant coach who is this like incredible, he's like a trained, certified coach. He's from, he was trained in Europe in soccer, football, and he's a really knowledgeable, but he couldn't do it full time as a coach because of work commitments. And so he's like, I can be an assistant coach and I just won't be there sometimes. And it was such an incredible experience because just like I mentioned, a few moments ago about that chain of coaching, it kind of created this scenario where as a coach, I had a master coach to be there as my second coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it made just a tremendous difference. And
Mm.
that was kind of how it started. It was, he and I kind of started that relationship where he was mentoring me and kind of helping point out a few things to me. And then we started applying that with the kiddos and kind of treating each week of practice as a target condition. Okay, what are the skills that we want to try to accomplish this week? And then we would kind of run the experiment, which would be the beginning of practice to kind of, we'd let them scrimmage, which was also kind of part of a human-centered design. We wanted to get them excited about coming to practice because they would know that right at the top of practice, just right after they, got their warm-ups in, they were going to get to scrimmage immediately. And it would only be for 5-10 minutes, but they knew they were going to get that little treat right at the beginning. They were going to get to play. And then we would go into drills, but when they would do that first little scrimmage, that would be like a little experiment. We'd be testing, okay, do they have the skills that we're targeting for this week, or where are they deficient on those skills? And we would observe and watch, and then we would go into the next section of practice with a customized whatever we learned from those observations, wherever we saw the gap, we would then apply a drill. And we'd have a set of drills that we were choosing from, so it wasn't like it's just a blank canvas. But we would choose the one that made the most sense based on our observations. We would run the drill, focus in on those micro skills, and then we go scrimmage again. And then we would repeat, and we would do that basically 3 times during a practice, 3 cycles of experiment and reflection. Kind of each time we would ask the kids, say, hey, what did you feel that you did well during that scrimmage? What did you think that you want to try to work on? And get them engaged in their voices, helping determine what are we going to focus on next, with guidance, of course. And and it was just an amazing, multiple rapid, rounds of learning each practice.
Well, yeah, and then what I love about that also is, especially with you and your assistant coach, who is very knowledgeable in soccer, you can do that deliberate practice, right? Yeah. And no, let's try it this way. And then you're giving them immediate feedback, right? And correcting right then and there. And that just so often doesn't happen always, right? Giving that deliberate coaching where there's sort of feedback going back and forth.
Yeah. Very deliberate, very customized. And that's just from, that's the hallmark of a master coach, right? Like somebody like this guy, David, who was my assistant coach, he would stop practice and go into a drill, and it would be something like I would never think of, how, he would do mental drills, like, hey, we need to be better at communicating with each other. And so he'd do a communication drill that had nothing to do with a soccer ball whatsoever,
Yeah.
And he would focus on the cognitive side of the game if he saw that was the need. And and it was very deliberate, and it was very, just like with our colleague Tilo Schwartz and his coaching dojo, it gets down to the micro skill levels and down to, just the micro skill of, when you pass the ball, we need you to move and not stand still. Just like that little habit of wanting to admire your pass as opposed to moving to the open spot.
Yeah.
It's like this little, so micro, it's almost not even a skill, it's more of just a reflex or a tendency. And to get down to that level, that to me is fascinating. And that's where you get it down to the science of skill acquisition and learning and deliberate practice, but then mixing that with the art of, it's kind of psychologically engaging and getting people excited to come to practice and wanting to do that stuff. That the art and the science of it really is what is fascinating to me.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories. Almost all of my kids have played soccer, and my older son now, he's more of a American football player. But my one daughter, she's in college now and plays, and but she was growing up. I was her little recreational coach, when she's real little, and then she ended up going to club teams and had David was her coach then, like some British guy from, and so I learned a lot by watching those coaches, by the way, and then I could go coach my rec team even better. Right. But I remember there was this rec game where we had, and we were the Little Angels, and Brenna, my daughter, she was the little tiny star forward, scored all the goals. And we were playing the Pink Panthers, man. This was our rival, right? I mean, this is serious stuff. And I'll never forget, it was like 3-3, and we were just like, I don't know, a couple minutes left in the game, and it's just going back and forth. And Pink Panthers had this one girl named Angela, and boy, she was hard to handle, but had her marked up with 3 of my strongest defenders just to shut her down. And anyhow, my daughter Brenna gets the ball, and she's on a breakaway, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. And she comes in, and she's closing in, and all of a sudden this girl comes out of nowhere and just sideswipes her and just knocked Brenna's super tiny right back then. So she's flying through the air and inside the box there. So guess what? PK. And I'm like, let's go. Anyhow, so she lines up, puts the ball down, and we practice them, man, like knockout, in for every practice and all that. And I'm like, pick a corner, she knows the drill, and anyhow, so she picked her corner and she hit the ball. Boom. You can hear it. Beautiful hit, man. That thunk, you really hit it hard with her laces. And all of a sudden you hear ding.
Oh no!
Right off the post, and then basically time expired and we tied, and she was devastated, man. I don't know, 7, 8 years old, and she was just wrecked. And so when we got home, we had a little net in the backyard, and I was never hard on her or anything like that. She was harder on herself, and next thing you know, I look out at her and she had her brother out there holding a cell phone and with a video camera on, and she had those balls lined up in front of her. And she said, all right, I'm going to hit 10 in the bottom left corner. Boom, 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 boom. And then she'd watch the tape. I was so proud of her. She did it on her own. Then she said, okay, I'm going to put 10 in the bottom right corner, boom, 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 and then right down the middle and so forth. But what she was doing, and she didn't even realize it, was just the beautiful form of deliberate practice, right? Because she was like being deliberate on what she was trying to do, because she could have just got a bunch of balls and just whacked them into the net, right? That's what most people would probably do. But for whatever reason, it wasn't because of me coaching her on deliberate practice, right? This is many years ago, but she did that. I always share that story even today when I'm teaching it as an example of the difference between just random practice, which is just wildly kicking soccer balls into the net, and deliberate practice, which is like having a plan. And then if you miss, go back, look at the tape. Oh yeah, my plant foot was off a little bit. I wasn't over the ball or whatever it might be, right? And you make corrections like that. So I don't know. There's so many beautiful examples of being able to practice well and deliberately in sports and youth sports. And I think it's just a great opportunity to teach kids that so they can carry that skill for the rest of their lives. So even if it's not a physical sports thing, right?
Right. And, the difference between, like you were saying, random practice and deliberate practice, and then just to put a very fine point on the deliberate practice, with the spirit of Kata in mind. I've heard, one interpretation of Kata is like a method of balance, so to speak, like personal balance. And I could just imagine, somebody like your daughter who's put in so much work and is so competitive probably, and misses that kick, could get really out of balance, right?
Yeah.
And instead of lingering in that, like going and practicing her kata, which in this case is this deliberate practice of kicking the 10 balls into each corner, and then I could just imagine how that would help get back to balance, and so it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, I've always tried to teach my kids to play in the middle. Don't get too high, don't get too low. When you make a great play, it's to celebrate a little bit, but then get right back to the middle, or stay neutral, as they'll say. That guy that coached Russell Wilson, that sports psychologist dude, that he was famous for saying, stay neutral, right? And I think that's maybe to your point, that balance that we really need that as grown-ups right here in the business world. You have a great month. Okay, good. Have a bad month. Okay. but get back to the middle and try to stay there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow, man. Well, so are you, soccer season about ready to start back up, right? For you guys, or?
Yeah. It'll be starting back up in the spring. We have a little reprieve right now.
Okay.
Having the kids doing a few other things, but what was also fun is I've been It's kind of an experiment. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere or not, but I've been doing this little thing like where I'll sit down with my kids and teach them a little 1 point lesson, 5 minutes or less about something related to improvement science. And we actually, my kids said, hey, why don't we, do like a little video of this, call it like, explain it to me like I was an 8-year-old, and so I'm kind of engaging them in some of that stuff right now. Like how, can you simplify a complex concept and teach it to an 8-year-old like my son in a way that they can then turn around and teach it to, he can teach to his sister, for example. And I want to see it just as an experiment.
Sounds like you got
a
family YouTube channel about to be created, dude. I'm not even kidding, man.
I know. And I got to figure out what we're going to call it, or I got to figure out how to do a YouTube channel and all that. I'll probably be sending a bunch of rookie questions your way, Mr.
No,
Prairie.
that's fine. Yeah, man. Hey, you never know. Your kids go viral and then pay for their college out of their YouTube revenue.
There you go, man. That'll fund some. That'll fund some of these Kata School of Florida Kata in the classroom sessions. I'll get 400, 500 people. I'll break
That's
your
right.
record.
Yeah, let's go. We got Kata School, Texas, man. So Texas versus Florida, man. Let's go, man. Let's see.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas, but we'll see what's up. Florida's coming on the scene.
It's all good, man. Hey, man, it's always so fun to talk to you, Mike. I really appreciate you, man. Hey, so if people want to connect with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, hot off the presses. Kataschoolflorida.com.
Okay.
They can go there and check that out. On there, you'll find some links. One of them is to the Kata School Florida LinkedIn page. So you can find that there, or on LinkedIn, just Kata School Florida. And then people are welcome to email me at mike@kataschoolflorida.com.
Okay.
And that I will be using that email for anybody who would like to just talk about, learn, or practice the improvement kata and the coaching kata. It's really a life mission for me, is to help individuals and teams and organizations really accomplish their full potential through the use of scientific thinking and coaching patterns. And so anybody, if they just want to geek out on kata, or if they want to do some coaching cycles, it's just my way of giving back to the community. And I've learned so much from people like yourself and Mike Rother and others that it just I feel the need that I want to spread it and give back. So they can use that email address for that.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have everything linked up on the show notes, people. So just kind of scroll down on your app and everything will be linked up there. So, hey, man, always good to chat with you. Keep up those huddles and work on that first touch, man, in the off season. Okay. So you're ready to go.
I'm hopeless on the field. I don't even tend to be able to have any touch with the ball, but thank you for the encouragement.
All right, man. You take care.
All right. Have a good one, Ron.
Thanks for listening. Whether you've been on the continuous improvement journey for many years, or perhaps you're just getting started, Gemba Academy is here to support you. And while we're best known for our more than 1,500 Lean and Six Sigma teaching and virtual tour videos, we also have a team of experienced Lean and Six Sigma practitioners available for one-on-one coaching, as well as a variety of Lean and Six Sigma certification options. To learn more and to schedule a demo, head on over to GembaAcademy.com.